Chapter 13, The Big Twist. So with Will's dreaded confession out of the way, we can finally discuss Vecna's big reveal just before the final battle. So after the children escape, Will manages to confront Vecna in the dreamscape, where he tries to talk him into joining the light side of the Force. Despite Will's efforts, Vecna reveals that he was never under the Mind Flayer's control and that he was actually evil the whole time? Which, yeah, seemed pretty apparent with the whole murdering teenagers and kidnapping children thing. I mean, what was this whole setup for anyway? In Season 5, the show repeatedly hints that Vecna is being used by the Mind Flayer against his will. There's a significant amount of screen time devoted to framing him as a tragic figure, complete with a long, drawn-out sequence where he has to confront his past. This scene frames this moment as a possible turning point for his character, giving us the feeling that Will's intervention might actually turn him to the good side. Except it doesn't. He just commits even harder to destroying the world. There's no reversal, no complication, no new information. Just another subvert your expectations surprise that goes nowhere. The result being that this supposed character arc is just an elaborate fake out, and the story ends up revealing something that the audience already understood since Season 4. The villain was evil the whole time. The difference now being that this show spent an entire season pretending that this wasn't the case.
Each life, a faded, lesser copy of the one before. Everyone is just waiting for it all to be over. Are we the baddies?
Originally, Henry was a psychopathic supervillain that stumbled across the Mind Flayer and made some kind of alliance with it in order to destroy humanity. But they retconned that, so now he's just some kid that stumbled across a guy in an abandoned mine shaft that for some reason had a rock that contained the essence of the Mind Flayer? Is that what that is? So why was Henry alone here? And why was he in this mine shaft? And who is this guy? And how did he get this rock? And if this was Henry's big moment where he joined the hive mind, then why is he scared of it? If he's so committed to the Mind Flayer, then this would be a good thing, right? And not some terrifying turn to the dark side moment. Did I need to watch the fucking play to understand this? With this new backstory, we are forced to ask questions that have no good answers. So why didn't Henry start killing people earlier to open up the Mother Gate if that was his big goal in Season 4? He had contact with the Mind Flayer, he knew what it wanted, so why not open up the portal to its dimension before anyone else knew about it? The Mind Flayer also tells Henry to come and find it. However, he never actually does this. 11 just so happens to send Henry through a portal to its dimension. But that just makes me wonder why Henry didn't go out and find the Mind Flayer earlier if that's what it wanted him to do. And how was he supposed to do this on his own anyway? Could Henry open up portals like 11 did? We never see him use this power, and we could presume that he would have used it sooner had he been able to. But we are never given this information, so it's safe to say that the Duffer brothers never considered it. So with this retcon, we know that the Mind Flayer infected Henry and gave him a task he wasn't able to perform. And it's only by sheer fucking luck that he managed to meet the one person that could unite them. I mean, had Henry not been captured by Brenner, and had Brenner not used his blood to create new numbers, then 11 wouldn't have been around to accidentally send Henry to Dimension X. It is also super lucky that 11 didn't just snap Henry's neck here. And how did Henry go to high school when he was being used as Brenner's lab rat? Did Brenner just let his most valuable and secret human experiment go out into the world unsupervised? And I'm sure there will be people trying to answer these questions in the comments section, but the plain fact is that we don't know the answers because the Duffer brothers don't either. They retconned Vecna's backstory, which reveals that they were unsure about his character since his inception. And I don't fucking care if it happened in a goddamn stage play. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard of. Marvel went overboard when they made it necessary to watch like 80 different shows in order to understand their newest films. But now Netflix is trying to outdo them by having their plot put into a stage play. If it didn't happen on screen, then fuck off. Now usually, when you're nearing the end of a story, writers will take the time to answer some major questions that have been left unanswered. But on Stranger Things, the writers thought it would be better to answer questions nobody asked, which only created 1,000 more questions that they never tried to answer. My point being, none of this was thought through. Nothing had any forethought. It's just random idea after random idea. So all we can do is try to interpret this slop, instead of actually having anything tangible to cling on to. Chapter 14, A Marvel level finale. Alright, so the party has this stupid plan of taking out the Mind Flayer with 2 guns, a flamethrower, and some makeshift spears. But of course, it goes off without a hitch because the writers are fucking hacks who have no idea what they're doing. I mean, nobody gets injured here, not a sprained ankle or even a bloody nose. Which technically makes the bullies more effective at dealing damage than the actual big bad of the show. This makes the entire world-ending threat feel pretty meaningless. After all, what was the Mind Flayer's plan if it came up against the US government? I mean, if a handful of teenagers that are hardly prepared for this kind of situation can take you out in a couple minutes, then what the fuck were you gonna do against a jet fighter, or a tank, or an atom bomb? And where were all the creatures that are supposed to be part of the hive mind? We don't see any tentacles, demogorgons, those bat things, or demodogs. I mean, this is the heart of the hive mind. So wouldn't all these creatures instantly know when it's in danger and try to come to the rescue? Demogorgons can make their own portals after all. Oh, apparently the Duffer brothers were worried about Demogorgon fatigue? Where have I heard this before?
While Danny kind of forgot about the Iron Fleet and Euron's forces.
Could they not fit this into their budget? $500 million not enough for you guys? Maybe if you cut back on all those stupid rewrites for Will's coming out party, you would have had more money for some CGI. But in the end, it just doesn't make any sense, and it's lazy. Too bad none of the writers thought to add them.
There have to be some monsters in the Abyss.
I agree.
There has to be Demogorgon, bat, dog, like something.
Bullshit!
And again, someone should have really died here. If you're trying to save the world from some kind of existential threat, it should cost you something. But as we have already established, the creators really hate that concept and will do anything to avoid it. So the Mind Flayer gets cooked in like 5 seconds, and Vecna gets impaled and then gets his head cut off because Joyce needed to do something. And yeah, that's it. The good guys get a flawless victory over the villains. This entire battle highlights the major problems with this show as a whole. You have a rushed fight sequence that lacks any logic or common sense. Such as, how did all these characters climb up this cliffside in like 5 seconds? And why was the Mind Flayer hurt by machine gun fire? We see that Vecna and the Demogorgons are bulletproof, so why is this massive monster affected by an M16? No, not gonna get any answers, are we? You then have zero consequences for the main characters because the writers don't like killing people, and the villains are therefore neutered by the plot. The heroes then save all the children from the Duffer Brother Island, and to cap it all off, you have a sappy emotional scene where everyone's crying for no reason because we haven't had one of those in a couple minutes. So you have a lazy, weightless, and emotionally fraudulent story that exacts zero anticipation from the audience, which in the end just makes everything feel like a bad Marvel movie, or maybe even Avatar. Just a spectacle without any humanity behind it. Chapter 15, Pure Plot Armor. Since we're on the topic of consequence-free storytelling, I would feel remiss if we didn't go through and point out every instance of plot armor in this season, just to make sure I've really driven this point home. Will jumps off a tree, hits multiple branches on the way down, and doesn't break his neck or die from internal bleeding. Dustin is captured and gang beaten by bullies, but isn't murdered, despite them claiming that's what they'll do. Hopper isn't killed by a Demogorgon, despite it killing every soldier nearby. Hopper doesn't die from being shot, nor does the bullet hit the bomb strapped to his chest. Holly isn't severely injured by being thrown into a bookshelf. Both Karen and Ted survive being mauled by a Demogorgon. Hopper somehow is not injured by grenades that he throws like a child for some reason. The evil soldier survives 11 breaking through this locked room in his mind, even though this seems like it's gonna have a huge impact on him, but it just turns out to make him angry, I guess. Lucas isn't mauled to death here. Nancy, Steve, Jonathan, and Dustin crash at high speed into a meat wall and survive without injury. Hopper is captured by Linda Hamilton, and she doesn't kill him despite having the opportunity to do so. Hopper in return doesn't kill Linda Hamilton despite murdering countless soldiers before this. It is also apparent that she is the biggest threat to 11 and she is leading a military operation to capture her. Hopper doesn't blow himself up. Every main character at the Mother Gate survives despite there being multiple Demogorgons attacking at once. Vecna doesn't kill Joyce. Vecna doesn't kill Will despite having every reason to do so. Despite getting slashed by a Demogorgon, Lucas never brings up this injury again and it seems to have no impact on him going forward. Vecna doesn't kill Max immediately despite having every opportunity to do so before Will attacks him. Nancy and Jonathan survive this exotic matter explosion despite being right in front of it when it explodes. 11, Hopper, and Callie are somehow not sucked up through the tear in the universe even though there's trees, boulders, and buildings flying past them. Vecna does not kill Will even though he's a major threat now. Jonathan and Nancy survive this stupid fucking scene. Vicky and Robin survive this Demodog attack. The Demodogs run past them again despite Vecna having a personal reason for wanting Robin dead after the events of season 4. Lucas is somehow able to overpower Demodog with his foot while he's injured and is carrying Max. Robin, Vicky, and Lucas are somehow not immediately noticed by Demodogs even though they're playing music really loud, and are barely hiding behind this dryer. Deus Ex Karen saves the day. Holly gets yanked out of the sky by Vecna despite being incredibly far away just before her death. Everyone doesn't die from absolute cringe here. Everyone in the truck doesn't immediately die from gunfire even though trucks are not bulletproof. More specifically, Murray somehow survives getting shot at by 3 soldiers who are only a few feet away. Nancy is able to gun down these soldiers without injury. Steve is caught by Jonathan even though he clearly wouldn't have made it to him in time. Vecna doesn't kill Eleven despite having control over her. Callie conveniently talks for too long, giving Vecna time to escape. Vecna is overpowered by fucking delightful Derek. Hopper isn't executed here despite the soldiers having every reason to do so. Plot armor, 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 plot armor. And of course, every character isn't arrested or shot by the military because fuck it. Chapter 16, Eleven's Epilogue. Alright, so I guess we have to talk about this plank of wood and the end of her story. So after defeating this pathetic excuse for a villain, the heroes complete their plan of blowing up the entirety of the Upside Down. Wow, how convenient is it that there's some random energy source that holds the entire realm together? What's even more convenient is that all it takes is some C4 to blow it up. Too bad the main characters didn't discover this in season 1, or the whole show would be over. But anyway, they head back across the gate and everyone's happy. But oh no, the army's waiting for them on the other side. Who would have thought? Did you seriously think you could drive in here, guns blazing, murder a bunch of soldiers, and then come back and not find the military waiting for you here? What did you think they were gonna do? Did you forget about them?
While Danny kind of forgot about the Iron Fleet and Euron's forces.
Why would our heroes not take a different route to leave the Upside Down? After all, they used multiple different portals this season, so why not do it again? Just get 11 to move one of these metal plates and you'd be fine. There is no reason to go back through the same gate you know is heavily guarded. But they do it anyway because everyone's brains got thrown out with half the script. And besides, we need this dramatic fake out with 11 to happen. Okay, so 11's plan here is that she'll trick the military into thinking that she's dead, so she can go off and live the rest of her life in peace in Iceland? And I know this all works out perfectly here, but would it though? After all, even though 11 escapes here, there's no reason to think that everyone else will just be fine. Both Nancy and Hopper have killed multiple soldiers this season, and everyone else has also broken several laws, including kidnapping, by the way. So realistically, everyone's just going to jail for the rest of their lives. Linda Hamilton here is a fucking general, and Hopper straight up pistol whipped her. He would be so fucked here. They're all really lucky that they didn't just get executed on the spot. But they don't because the show doesn't make any sense. And 11 is able to successfully trick everyone here with the help of Callie. Lucky she was able to do this with a grievous gunshot wound as well as being miles away. So 11 has a goodbye with Mike and then she fucks off. Whatever happened to those pregnant women the government was experimenting on? Who cares? Now you would think that out of all the people 11 would say goodbye to here, it would be Hopper, right? I mean, if you're gonna fake your death, then maybe it would have been nice to let your adopted father know what your plan was. After all, Hopper has made it pretty clear how much he depends on 11 for his happiness. He has already lost a daughter and it broke him. 11 was the only one that was able to bring him back from being a depressed man on the brink of collapse. There is absolutely no telling what the death of a second daughter would do to him. That revolver might start looking a little friendly. The show tries to frame this as 11's decision, and that Hopper needed to learn how to let her go and be a hero in order for them both to grow. Which sure is a pretty cliche parental dilemma to have in a story, one that would actually work if letting 11 go meant her saving the world and not dying. But all Hopper does here is allow 11 to dupe him into a bad prank where she pretends to sacrifice herself. Hopper doesn't learn anything from this other than he was wrong to trust her.
Fuck.
If anything, this would make him regress even further because his instincts to protect her were right. It just seems rather callous, perhaps even immoral, not to let him know that she's still alive. But nope, I guess Hopper just comes to terms with everything, and somehow miraculously becomes the sheriff of Hawkins again, despite being legally dead for years and being wanted by the government. Are we seeing a theme here? Something to do with sense and a complete lack of it? So yeah, he has a nice chat with Mike, and he proposes to Joyce, and everything's just great. Aw, wow. The father who did everything to protect his daughter failed, and we have zero payoff for this relationship? How nice. Now, would it not have been better had Hopper been the one to reveal Eleven's survival here? Hopper could tell Mike that he was in on the plan to fake Eleven's death so she could hide from the military. And in fact, he even knows where she is, but was reluctant to tell Mike for her own safety. But now, Hopper's ready to let them be together. And the whole show ends with Mike leaving Hawkins to go find Eleven. And that's just an idea, but one that I think pays off these relationships a bit more and gives us a much more fulfilling reveal. But at this point, any changes to the plot would be an improvement. Because if there's one thing the Stranger Things documentary proves, it's that these guys had no idea what they were doing.
I don't know what I'm doing! I'm so fucked